Welcome to Conversations from Stritch. Today is December 7th. I'm Dr. Christopher Sent, Provost here at Lewis, and I'm joined today by Allison Lankowitz, the General Manager of WLRA. President Livingston is in Brazil at meetings of the International Association of Lasallian Universities. I have been in Washington, D.C. for most of this week and for some meetings, so it's been great to be back on campus during this really busy and exciting week. I want to go through some things that have happened in the last week or so and get Allie's take on some of them. This is the last week of classes. Please make sure to review your final week schedule if you have not done so already for the time and day of your final, and enjoy the final study period, or engage in the final study period leading up to finals. Going back to last Friday, Friday last week, December 1st, we officially completed the corporate merger with St. Augustine College. Effective December 1st, St. Augustine merged into Lewis University. So St. Augustine College no longer exists as a separate university or college, but as part of Lewis University. However, St. Augustine, the educational institution, still exists and is still a separate degree-granting institution recognized by the Department of Education, the Illinois Board of Higher Education, and the Higher Learning Commission. So we're really excited about that coming together. Again, I think maybe the most important thing to say is that employees of St. Augustine, faculty and staff, are now our colleagues at Lewis, and I urge everyone to make our new colleagues as welcome as possible. The next step in the process is that we will make our submission to the Department of Education by December 15th, just in the next week or so, to merge the two academic institutions. And that, after the Department of Education receives that proposal, that should take about a year to finalize the review and the approval. Also, last Friday, we hosted the President's Circle Dinner, which is a celebration for some of Lewis's largest supporters, to really say thanks for the ongoing support of the university and our students. There's some pictures there. It was a really fun night, had by all, and really kind of inaugurating the Christmas season and the Advent season. We had some great student speakers, including our very own Allison Lankowitz, who was one of the two keynote speakers of the night. So, Allie, first of all, thank you for doing that, and congratulations for getting that honor.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you talked about?
So I was one of the keynote undergraduate speakers at the President's Circle Dinner, and I basically had the chance to share a reflection about my last few years at Lewis. Coming to Lewis as a transfer student, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it was the best decision I've ever made. I gained more than I could have ever imagined. I was able to talk about a lot of my volunteer experiences that I've been able to achieve here at Lewis, including being a SELF in the Office of Community Engaged Learning. I was able to connect with kids in the local schools in the area, and I was a foster grandchild to a wonderful woman named Brenda through a program that Lewis has, and it was just really special being able to share, the opportunities that Lewis has given me over the years with some of the best donors and sponsors that we have, and to be able to kind of sit beside my fellow students and let them hear my story and hear theirs was just really great.
Yeah, well, thanks again for doing that, and you were great. Everyone at my table was like, that Allie is amazing. That's amazing. And I learned things about you. I felt like I got to know you a little bit this year from the broadcasting point of view. And we interviewed you on this show, but still I learned things about you from that keynote speech. So thanks again.
Of course.
It was wonderful. So on Monday, we had the Holiday Chorale Concert featuring all of our music ensembles, the Chamber Choir, Gospel Choir, Altitude Vocal Jazz, and Harmonic Uprising, with many different configurations of soloists, duets, and large group performances in a wide range of musical genres. What an outstanding performance by all of the students for a really, really large crowd in St. Charles Borromeo, at St. Charles Borromeo. I really enjoyed that night. And then last night, when I came back from DC, I went straight to the Department of Nursing recognition ceremony, which was beautiful to see all of our graduates. We're going to talk about commencement in just a few minutes, but it was great to recognize some of the award winners in the nursing program last night. And then tonight I will be with the education department at another great ceremony recognizing their honorees. And as always, Community Hour continues through the final week of the year. Great day yesterday with music in the Brother James Gaffney Center, comedy improv in the Fine Arts Building, a DIY mini tree decorating, and gatherings of the Sustainability Club and Peace and Justice Studies. Allie, let me ask you a question before I turn it over to you for this. How are you? Do you have the Christmas spirit yet?
I'm getting there. I think
Okay.
finals week usually kind of stresses me out a little bit, but I like to unwind after I finish my studying and watch a couple Christmas movies. And I love the caroling that I've seen around campus. I don't know, somebody yesterday in the student center was actually singing very loudly, so that was great to see. So I'm getting there for sure. I'm very excited for break.
That's good. I feel the same way. I always feel a little too busy to really engage until the break really starts. But when I hear, think about people decorating trees, and I haven't been to downtown Chicago since, a few weeks. And but when I was in DC, it was so beautifully decorated for Christmas. I started getting a little bit of the
it's getting there,
the feel for it. I know some people start right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we have beautiful decorations here in the room with us.
From the President's Circle dinner, actually.
That's right, yeah.
Great to have that. But yeah, there is just so much going on, so I do have quite a bit of news. Well, great news, 2 Lewis University Cyber Defense Club teams at the November 3rd and 4th U.S. Department of Energy Cyber Force competition performed very well as they competed to defend a virtual network against determined hackers and preserve a critical energy infrastructure. So that sounds very exciting, very intense. One of the Lewis University teams actually came in 10th place out of 98 nationwide teams. The Cyber Defense Club offers students hands-on opportunities to become cybersecurity experts by working together to learn the concepts, skills, and tools that modern cybersecurity warriors need to defend mission-critical systems. So again, that sounds very intense, and if anyone is looking to join that club, I would absolutely take advantage of that. In other news, also a huge congratulations to Dr. Elizabeth Sartell, the assistant professor in the theology department here at Lewis University, who received a Wabash Center grant for her project titled Calligraphy and Creativity in the Classroom. So this grant will provide funding to incorporate arts-based experiential learning into her classroom. The $5,000 grant will be used to fund student learning through introductory Islamic art projects that will help them think about Islamic art historically, critically, and artistically. So that's really excellent. And Dr. Sartell is a part of the 2023 Wabash Workshop for Early Career Religion Faculty Teaching Undergraduates. This workshop creates a collaborative learning experience that focuses on building a community around teaching and learning, all while reflecting on outside realities that shape educational environments for both faculty and students. Dr. Sartell also presented a paper entitled Mystical Calligraphy, Writing Across Worlds at the American Academy of Religion, or AAR, back in November on the 18th through the 21st. So at the annual national conference, the Islamic Studies scholar shared her research on how the calligraphic or written forms of Arabic letters are interpreted symbolically. So that is some really excellent news, and again, congratulations to Dr. Sartell for that grant. The engineering department will be hosting an engineering showcase tomorrow as well, December 8th from 10 to 2 in the Arts and Sciences Classroom 106 with a showcase of student projects, poster presentations, a robotics demonstration, and a panel discussion as well about careers in engineering, which will be from 12 to 1. So that is excellent. I always love the robotics demonstrations, so definitely check that out in AS tomorrow. And then the senior capstone art exhibition will take place December 7th through the 18th at the Wadsworth Family Gallery. The show features Shanton Brown, who was actually on the show not too long ago, along with Alondra De La Torre, Jasmine Fairbanks, and Annabelle Garcia Silva. The biannual art show coincides with the capstone course for graduating art students and challenges graduating students to put their newly acquired skills and understanding of art to the test by participating in a professional exhibition experience. So the gallery talk and reception will take place at 7 p.m. on December 7th. So a lot of really great news and good things going on.
Yeah, there's so much going on. That gallery show is tonight. I'm going to try to get over there after the education event that I'm going to. Also, Dr. Sartell was a guest on the show just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really glad we got to announce all that great news about her accomplishments, because we didn't get to talk to her a huge amount about her own particular research, and it sounds really interesting. Calligraphy and the way it connects to the history of Islam is really fascinating work. So we have a lot going on campus. I'm going to share a few events coming up that we haven't already talked about this week and next week. Today from 2 to 3:30 in De La Salle 250, we have a creative writing showcase. And then also from 4 to 5:30 in Sancta Alberta, we will have the Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception Mass, and we may ask our guest a little bit about that Mass this afternoon. Tonight in Brother James Gaffney, we have gingerbread house decorating, more Christmas prep, more Christmas spirit stuff. And then from also tonight, 6 to 9 in the Studio Theater, the Drama Club's Winter Informal dance tonight. Tomorrow from 6 to 10, Black Student Union Party in the Red Room. And on Sunday night, from 8:30 to 10 is the late night luau. So that is in the Brother James Gaffney Center. We used to do pancakes, I think, or breakfast late night, I guess more generally. And we got some great feedback from the Student Senate that they were getting a little too used to having breakfast at this event. So this time we're having a luau, and that's in celebration to support students in their studying for finals the night before finals. And then, of course, we continue to have community hour even during finals week next week with all kinds of great stuff. So Allie, I'm going to turn it back over to you for some news about sports.
Yeah, well, definitely 'tis the season for our winter sports. The men's and women's basketball travels on Saturday to play University of Indianapolis, which is one of our biggest rivals in that GLVC conference. And then huge men's soccer today at 4:00 p.m. is in the Final Four of the NCAA Division II Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the Sport Management Club is actually wanting to invite all the students to watch the game and enjoy some snacks in St. Charles Borromeo, room 171, starting at 3:30 p.m. So it's a really big stage for the men's team, and it's, I think, their third time in program history that they've made it to the Final Four. So definitely head over to Borromeo if you want to support them.
Yeah, it's so exciting that we are doing this, that we are in the Final Four. Did you say this already? This is the third time in the program's history?
Yeah, third time in program history.
This has happened?
Yep, first since 2009. So it's been quite a bit for Coach Feifels, but amazing. I think that the boys can definitely pull it off. So
I'm really looking forward to it,
yeah.
And looking forward to rooting them on, hopefully on Saturday as well in the championship. Yep. We are really excited now to turn our attention to today's guest. Before I do that, a reminder to send questions using the askus@lewis.edu email address, and we will get those questions into our conversation. Also, if you are watching a recorded version of this on YouTube, please feel free to use that as well, and we can send questions to our guest or try to get an answer from someone who knows the answer. So I'm really pleased to be joined by Dr. Kurt Schackmuth, who serves as our Chief Mission Officer and Vice President for Student Life here at Lewis. Now in his 25th year at Lewis, he is responsible for the campus-wide integration, animation, and advancement of the university's Lasallian Catholic mission and values. In his capacity as Vice President for Student Life, Kurt oversees various departments and programs that foster and promote student success, retention, and the undergraduate student experience. Also, Kurt recently accepted a 3-year appointment as the North American Regional Representative to the International Council for Lasallian Association and the Educational Mission, also known as CML. We can ask him why those letters don't line up with that title at all in English, which is based in Rome. And I will just say it is a very, very, we've talked about it before on the show, but it's a really, really big honor in the international Lasallian community to be a part of CML. So congratulations on that, and welcome, Kurt, to the show today.
Glad to be here, thanks.
It's wonderful to have you here. We asked you to come on and to talk about commencement because it's one of those many, many responsibilities that I just talked about.
That's right.
And didn't name. And I think maybe the first thing to do is maybe you have some slides prepared around just some dates and times and when things are happening and
right.
the larger context for commencement. So I think we can go right into that if we're ready.
Yeah, so you mentioned that we're about to go into finals week, and this is kind of a mad rush to the end of the semester. And so not only do we have finals week, but we have all these honors and recognition ceremonies that are taking place at the department and college level. And then we also have all kinds of activities that move us closer to commencement. So we have our commencement mass on Sunday at 11 a.m. in St. Alberta Chapel. And then we move right into our 113th commencement weekend. And so that's December 15th and 16th. And our commencements have gotten so big and complex over the years that we now have 4 ceremonies. And so those unfold over 2 days. We've got Friday night, December 15th. We start with the first group of graduate students, and then we continue with graduate students on Saturday morning, December 16th. And then through the rest of the day, we cover our undergraduate students. We have 2 ceremonies for them. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of preparation goes into making all those ceremonies possible.
Okay, first question that I get questions about, and I also find confusing, even though I understand the answer. Why is it 113?
We've counted.
Because we're younger than 113 years old.
Yes, well,
Okay.
we've counted all of our commencement weekends, and we do more than one per year. And so
Okay.
when we go back and we count, you notice we don't say 113th annual.
Right. And we probably didn't used to do it twice a year like we do now,
That's
so
right.
it kind of all adds up to
You got it.
an odd number. Yeah. So that sounds exciting. Who is involved in preparing? I mean, it's really complicated. A ceremony or 4 ceremonies, not to mention the mass and all the other stuff. So how many people are involved in this?
Yeah, so there are probably over 100 individuals that are involved in the planning and dozens of offices on campus that are actively involved in planning and preparing for commencement. So earlier you asked, have you gotten into the Christmas spirit yet? It's really challenging for some of us to get into the Christmas spirit until after commencement's over with because of the work that we put into this. But the 2 primary, well, there's a number of different offices, but the Commencement Coordinating Committee really makes sure that we're collaborating and we're bringing together all the right offices and people to make commencement possible. But the Registrar's Office, of course, is an essential player in planning commencement, and they're doing an amazing job right now of juggling all kinds of responsibilities. But meetings, events, and conferences, and facilities, and marketing and communications, and that's just to name a few of the various different departments. But this is a process that really is a year-long process. We don't just wait until November to start planning commencement. As you can imagine, as soon as one commencement ends, we start to plan the next one. And we spend, as many people know, we spend about 15 minutes congratulating ourselves and patting ourselves on the back when commencement's over. And then right away we start to plan, we start to work on some continuous improvement and figuring out how we can make commencement better. One thing I would add is one of the driving elements of what we do is we know that commencement is the culminating event for our students. Like this is why they came to Lewis, so that they can celebrate this accomplishment with their families and with their friends. And so we try really hard to make this as special and as great a day as we can for families and students.
Yeah, and before we get off the topic of all the people working on it, I'm so grateful for all the people who are part of commencement. One of the groups that you didn't mention, I want to say out loud, is the police who stand, especially the December commencement. Most of them are outside for very long hours, directing traffic and responding to issues that are outside the building. So I really, really appreciate their concerted work along with everyone else.
Yeah, I've got to add, when it comes to what LUPD does, they spend the whole day outside and they don't even get to see the ceremony itself because they're outside. So what they do is absolutely essential, especially with 3 ceremonies in one day on Saturday, moving people on and off campus.
And this 15 minutes later starting to work on the next one thing is also, I can just want to attest that that's really true too. And it is it's a collection of people from all over campus, but together you can really see how much they know and care, that it's a really quality experience for students because they know how important it is. So they're immediately trying to tinker with things and make things better as soon as it ends. And it's really beautiful to see that commitment to our students and to their really being able to celebrate on this day.
Yeah, and as a student, I mean, I've looked forward to commencement ever since I graduated from high school and had my high school graduation. So I'm very excited, and I didn't even realize how many people it took to put commencement together. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I'll be walking across the stage in May, so I'm looking forward to our graduation in May as well.
Allie, maybe you could talk a little bit about, maybe just to back up a little bit, what's it like to be a student this week, leading up to final, because we talk about it all the time, and I feel like I don't really deeply know.
Right. As a student, it's kind of bittersweet to wrap up your fall semester. I think these were some of my favorite classes that I've taken. So this week is our last meeting sessions, and then we head right into our finals. So it's kind of go time in that sense, and you got to keep the grades up and finish strong. But it's really crazy because I felt like this semester really flew very quickly past us, and then for me personally, spring actually is quicker than the fall semester, so I'm a little bit nervous heading into next semester.
Really
I'm scared to blink, but going into finals, it's stressful, but you have to keep reminding yourself that you're a student, and as long as you're getting your work done and you're trying your best, that's really all you can do. And it's really great to see Student Senate and a lot of other students putting together fun little finals week, like de-stressors. So like the luau is a great activity to go to if you're overthinking things. So I'm excited. I'll probably head over to the luau. So
good. I hope so.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite place to study, or or has it changed over time, or whatever?
It's definitely changed over time. I started off in the courtyard quite a bit. That's a real big study spot during finals week, so it gets kind of crowded down there. But it's great to study over there, and I actually am a little bit odd. I like to go to the rec in the little awning that we have, and a lot of the student athletes do their study hours up there. But so it's cool because I get to see my friends, and I'm weird. I like to have a little bit of noise around me when I study, so I don't mind all the bouncing basketballs and stuff, but that's my favorite current spot.
What place are you talking about? Is it, do you mean like above the pool?
Yep. No, in the rec, in the actual gym, in Neil Carey, like right above the floor. There's where we do our broadcasts.
Oh, yeah. My standing spot.
Yeah, yep. So I like to study up there. It keeps me calm. And
that's cool, yeah, because there's a little shelf. It's remodeled, too, with our new logo, so even more comfortable chairs.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Kurt, back to you.
Okay. What do you want to know?
So we, like we talked about how Allie spoke on Friday. The commencement has a Lasallian speaker. Could you just maybe tell us a little bit about the concept of it? Because it's a little different than a typical, like valedictorian type student speech, and then also tell us about who that speaker is this year.
Okay, so you're right. The Lasallian speaker is not necessarily the valedictorian. It is instead a student an undergraduate, who is invited to share their reflections on their Lewis experience, as well as how the mission of the institution played into that experience, how it influenced them, and how it maybe helped to create the experience that they had. And so there's a formal process where we invite members of the Lewis community to nominate students that meet the criteria, and faculty and staff send us emails. They write little essays and other suggestions about why a student is so great and why they should offer this presentation. And then there's a mission recognition and awards committee, which is a group of faculty and staff who meet to review applications and essays that our finalists complete, and they share all about their Lewis experience. They tell us great stories. Finalists are then interviewed in person, and then this committee makes what's usually a really agonizingly difficult decision to choose just one student who will serve as our Lasallian speaker. And then, once that student's chosen, they spend some time working with a couple of faculty and staff who really kind of ask them probing questions and help them to kind of frame their thinking around what they're going to speak about, because they only have 3 to 4 minutes. And so they've got to come up with the best kind of reflections and stories and experiences. And what we want is for these students to not just tell about their own experience, but also to say, hey, I had this experience, and I think it probably is similar to the kind of experience you had as an undergraduate. And so they're not just telling their own story, but they're really kind of representing the entire undergraduate population with their speech. We've been doing this for over 25 years. We have had some really great students share their reflections and stories.
And are they, maybe this is too general of a question, but are they typically like the best student at Lewis, or is there any pattern? I guess is my question.
I think the pattern or the commonality, the common thread is these are students who were very engaged and very involved. That they were that they did well academically, but they were also involved in other activities, whether it's sports or clubs and organizations. They were impacted by a faculty member or staff member that they had a particularly good relationship with. So it's not like a cookie cutter, but at the same time, we're looking for really a well-rounded student experience, and we get that in our candidates.
Because those experiences really constitute the details of
exactly.
the speech itself.
That's right. And they always talk about some element of the mission. So Allie, you talked about your experience as a self.
Right.
Students talk about those kinds of things. They talk about a particular Christian brother that had an impact on them, or a retreat or ministry activity, or a professor that went out of their way to support or help a student. So these experiences, there's so many of them, and they're always great stories to hear about.
So if somebody wanted to do it in May, and they had a professor who might recommend them, when does it due and that kind of stuff?
So usually at the end of January for the spring semester, an email will go out to all faculty and staff, and the invitation nomination period is about 10 days, 2 weeks, and then the process continues throughout the spring semester. So right now, as we speak, Catherine Friori, who is a nursing student, is working on her speech. In fact, I think she's about finished with it. And she has spent the last couple of weeks working on that and kind of crafting her message. And I know, because I talked to her just last week, she's really excited about sharing her story, her Lewis story, next weekend.
What else can you tell us about Catherine?
She is a transfer student coming to us from another institution, and I won't name the institution, but she talked about what a wonderful experience Lewis has been in comparison to her previous institution, just because the faculty in the College of Nursing were so personable and mission-centered and supportive of her and willing to go the extra mile to make sure that she was successful. And so she really credits her faculty in the College of Nursing for supporting her in that way. And I think she also just feels that Lewis is a good-sized institution. It's the kind of institution that you won't get lost in, and we all know that. And her experience through her speech will kind of try to unpack that, while at the same time helping other students to connect and to relate to her experience, regardless of whatever major they were part of.
I can imagine, well, Catherine and I, we definitely have a lot in common, and
Yeah.
I can imagine it's really hard to reflect on 3 years or 4 years, maybe even 5, in just 4
Yeah.
minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that she's almost done with that speech, and I'm excited to hear how it goes for her. So.
Well, it seems like the process of applying and then the process of writing and getting feedback is such a, so much part,
Yeah.
like an added benefit to being a student, to be this honoree, because you get that support. I know from doing it myself that every time there's a commencement on the afternoon of the first commencement, we do mic checks, and our friends here in the room are there because they broadcast it, which we might want to talk about in a minute. And Brother Phil is the speech, diction, and performance consultant, and he makes I think it's the right verb. He supports the speaker and through many practice rounds of delivering the speech. And it's really kind of beautiful to watch because it does improve over time. And like you were saying, I think you were saying before we went on the air, Allie, you're so comfortable in front of a camera
Right.
and in front of a microphone from your radio experience, but speaking in front of that relatively small group on Friday night was a little bit scary. And so I think speaking at commencement is particularly scary. The lights are really bright. The sound system is really loud. There's all kinds of very high level performance things that happen. So it's a great experience to get to do that.
Yeah.
So we look forward to it. So then there's also an honorary doctorate during commencement weekend?
That's right. So on Saturday afternoon, we'll honor an individual who's made a particular impact in their own sense of purpose and vocation in their work that reflects well the mission and values of Lewis University. And this is a distinction that the university honors one individual per commencement weekend. And it's really to say, hey, this is an exemplar. This is a person who really lives out Lewis's mission values. So this year, we'll be honoring Jim Segrito, who is the just recently retired president of Montini Catholic High School in Lombard. He's a Lewis grad from the class of 77, criminal justice. And he went on to teach and serve as an administrator in Catholic secondary education for 46 years. 26 of those years were at Montini. And he just had a remarkable career there. He's really transformed the institution and also set it up for success for the new president and the new principal who've recently come in. So we're really excited to honor Jim, to tell his story as a proud Lewis graduate, and also to bestow on him this honor for really his life's work and commitment to Lasallian education.
Why do we give honorary doctorates?
You know what, it's really to show the world that there are really great people out there that are doing good work in the spirit of our mission and that we're proud of them. And it's also to set up really kind of an exemplar for our graduates, because the graduates say, boy, they see that there's someone who's gone on to do great things with their lives. And at the same time, the honorary doctorate recipient also offers words of wisdom and shares a little bit of their own personal experience with our graduates in an effort maybe to inspire them, to encourage them, and to let them know that these are the kinds of things that can happen after graduation. You can do some really great things, and really affirms and encourages them as well.
Yeah, our honorary doctorates are not always alums, but they very often are. And so, you know, what I've observed over the years is that they typically will connect their Lewis educational experience or their time at Lewis and what they learned to their success, and you know how that was the foundational or part of the foundation of their the thing that made them so successful that they were getting the honorary doctorate. We have a couple of questions that came through about commencement, and then I'm going to ask us to shift gears to some other things.
Okay.
So is it possible to still get tickets?
Yes. So actually, Monday, December 11th is the technically it's the last day for students to redeem their tickets. So each student has access to tickets for the ceremony. For the graduate ceremonies, the graduates can get up to 7 tickets. Oh, wow. And for the undergraduate ceremony, students can get up to 10 tickets. But they have to go online and actually claim those tickets and download them. And then they can either bring them printed on paper, or they can bring them on a phone, and the QR code can be scanned upon entry. But we really would like as many graduates as possible to claim tickets by the 11th, so that we know how many tickets are going to go unclaimed. Because if we have unclaimed tickets, we're able to give those to students who've requested extras. And many of you know that our graduates oftentimes are first-generation college students, or they're coming from really big families, and we want to be able to accommodate those requests. Right. And that's one of the reasons why we actually have 4 ceremonies, because the more ceremonies we have, the more guests can come and celebrate with the graduates.
Related question to that, or that question reminded me of a question, that answer reminded me of a question. Do you have any advice for students who are watching, who are going through commencement next weekend or in the future, about like getting there, preparing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the first thing, and for the students who are getting ready for this coming weekend, this doesn't apply to you because you've already gone through this process, but the first step, and I think the registrar's office would appreciate me saying this, is to register for or apply for graduation on time, to get all of your ducks in a row, submit all the information on time, because that's a really important first step. The other advice I'd say, especially for those who are about to graduate next weekend, is arrive on time, not too early, because it actually doesn't work out to get there too early, because we have so many ceremonies that are happening. There's a lot of transition period, but we like students to get there about an hour before the ceremony, and that gives them plenty of time to get checked in, to get robed, to get organized, and to remain calm and less stressful. Because if you come rushing in at the last minute with your cap and gown still folded up in a box, it's going to be more challenging. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I'd say is, coordinate with family and friends to make sure that everybody has their tickets, because in the old days we used to give out paper tickets to students and families, and now everything is digital. So make sure you're organized, you have all the family members that have their tickets, because it's really easy to get in. Once you get here, you just scan your phone or your paper ticket that you print out at home, and you can get right in without any problems. And of course, celebrate. Be ready to have a party. Make your dinner reservations for afterwards, or figure out how you're going to celebrate with your family after the ceremony's over.
I cannot stress that enough. I sit on the stage and watch. I have a view of the door from my seat, and every year, I understand things happen in your lives, but every year somebody is coming in, after the ceremony started with, buttoning their robe and, trying to find their seat in the alphabet in the right order. And it is, like you said, Allie, it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity to go through this. So an hour might sound like a long time, but please do it.
It'll go by quick.
There's a lot to do. And we didn't really, another question came through, we didn't really talk too much about the types of students who are graduating, because some people watching may not know the range of students that we have at Lewis.
Yeah, so I think it's important to remember that for this time of year, we're celebrating August and December graduates. And so we have just over 1,000 graduates next weekend, 1,066. At least that was a current number that we were working with. About 266 of those students are August grads, and then about 800 of them are from December. The majority for this particular graduation are graduate students, which reflects the increased enrollment we have in graduate students. But we have a nice balance, and the really great thing, as I said before, is that the ceremonies allow for lots of guests, and that, of course, is really important. So it should be a really great weekend, and I know so many people have been planning to make it a successful celebration for our graduates. We're really excited for them.
And if you can't come or can't get a ticket, despite all those tickets that are available, you can watch it online, is that right?
That's right, and I think this is a really important option for people who have family members that are living out of state or even outside the country. Thanks to our radio, TV broadcasting department and students and staff, we're able to live stream the ceremonies. And I think one of the really great things, I think you might already know this, but one of the great things is that when the team at the back of the room is streaming and broadcasting the ceremonies, the students are the ones that are really running the operation. They are behind the equipment, they are operating the cameras, they're being guided and supported by John Kilpatrick and John Carey and others, but our students are actually broadcasting this. So it's like on-the-job training. It's a really great opportunity for them, and they do a great job.
They do. I've watched pieces of it over the years. It's really, really well done. Allie, any last questions about commencement?
I was just curious, so in order to choose your Lasallian speaker, how many people do you have that apply, and then do you read through all the speeches, do you interview them, and then do they also have to be Catholic or Lasallian, or is it open to anyone who's a graduate?
So anybody who meets the criteria, which usually involves a certain, I think it's a 3.0 GPA and a certain number of credit hours earned at Lewis, but you don't have to be of a particular faith tradition or background. And we usually get anywhere from 12 to 15 nominations, and then we usually choose to interview maybe 9 to 10 of those. Students they fill out an application and they write essay responses, and then those are used as part of the interview process. And then the committee of about 6 or 7 faculty and staff narrows the pool down based on that. And like I said, it's a really challenging.
It's a tough job.
There's so many great students out there, so many great stories to tell, and it is really challenging.
I'm sure it's really a great, inspiring experience too. Although I know it's hard to reject people who are wonderful, but it's probably really great to think about all these wonderful students that we have who are applying and getting nominated.
It's funny you should say that, because I always say, I wish I had known these students sooner, because now they're graduating and I'm just hearing their story, and it would be great to hear those stories when they're moving through their Lewis experience.
Okay, so we're going to ask some questions from your role as Vice President for Mission.
Okay.
We're not going to ask you about the whole 25 years you've worked here, don't worry.
Thank you.
I know many of our community members know you very well, but maybe some people watching, families, perspectives, families and so on may not. So tell us a little bit about, just like maybe the first question is about what it means to be the Vice President for Mission at a university.
So to be a Vice President for Mission at a Catholic university, as a Lasallian university, essentially is a really great opportunity to energize and animate and excite others about what it is that gives our institution its sense of meaning and purpose. I think of a mission statement a lot like an institutional vocation, our purpose for existing as an institution. And at a Lasallian institution, I especially like this work because we have this Lasallian charism, we have this Catholic identity, but then within that Catholic identity, we have this Lasallian charism, which is kind of like the special way that we do Catholic education. And the Lasallian charism is really attractive, and it's really energizing, and we have this great tradition that's been shared with us by the De La Salle Christian Brothers, and they are really looking to us, that is, all of us who work at Lewis, to really kind of carry that tradition forward. And so it's really gratifying and fulfilling to kind of tell that story, to get other people excited about that story, and to engage them in their work around focusing on the one reason that we exist here, which is students.
That makes me want to ask a little bit more about, could you maybe talk a little bit about lay partnership and how it relates to the brothers who live on campus, and why it's so important to do this work and to animate the mission among our faculty, staff, and students?
Sure. So, the brothers came to Lewis in the 1960s, and they became responsible for our institution in the 60s. And back in the 60s, there were 20,000 Christian brothers all over the world. And the Christian brothers themselves represented the mission, they lived the mission. And as long as there were Christian brothers present at institutions back then, colleges or high schools or other kinds of institutions, the mission was considered secure because the brothers lived it, they represented it, they did the mission, they embodied the mission. And today, in 2023, there are about 3,000 Christian brothers worldwide. And some might say, oh gosh, that's a terrible thing. The mission will kind of disappear. And the good thing is that the brothers saw about 30 years ago that it was especially important to make sure that those of us who are not Christian brothers really feel ownership for the mission. And so they started to share the mission with us in a very deliberate, specific way by inviting us to participate in education programs and to really learn what it means to be LaSallian. And so we at Lewis, and all of us really in the LaSallian tradition, feel really well prepared for the day when, maybe there aren't as many Christian brothers among us. While they are with us, though, we enjoy their partnership, their accompaniment, their journeying with us. We look to them as wisdom figures, and we really kind of relish this time that we have with them. At the same time, we feel a real sense of confidence to say, you know what, we've got this. This is a mission that's over 350 years old, and we're going to continue to carry it forward in our work and in our accompaniment of students. And it means, though, that all of us who work in Lasallian education have kind of extra responsibility that we have to take really seriously. So that's why the first bullet point in any faculty and staff job description here at Lewis talks about a responsibility to model and advance the mission of the university.
Thank you. Tell us what CML is.
CML, so CML is, you described it earlier, the International Council for Association in the Lasallian Educational Mission. Bottom line is CML is an acronym that represents a group of individuals from each of the 5 regions of the world in the Lasallian Global Network who have been appointed by the Superior General of the Institute. So the Superior General is Brother Armin Luistro. He's the top-ranking brother within the organization of the Christian Brothers. And Brother Armin has asked lay partners, along with a few Christian brothers who are his collaborators on the General Council in Rome, to be advisors to him as part of the governance structure in Rome. So I was honored to be invited to serve as the United States and Canada regional representative to CML.
Should catch that. One person.
And that's right. And
North America.
Wow.
We'll have support, and we'll have others who are working with us and supporting us. But we already are meeting virtually, and we'll be headed to Rome in February and then again in July to meet in person for a week. And it's really an opportunity for me to represent not just our region, but Lewis. to bring
Right.
Lewis's presence to regular contact and engagement with our colleagues around the world. So I'm pretty excited about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and congratulations again. It's amazing, and it really speaks to your accomplishments and qualifications for such an amazing honor, but also to bringing Lewis's name into this international sphere. I mentioned President Livingston is right now at another Lasallian gathering, and I've engaged in those as well across the world, and so it's really a great honor for us that you are doing this, and all of this work is really inspiring. So, Allie, our time is up.
Yes.
Any final words?
I mean, we've just shared so many great, amazing things going on at Lewis this week, and for commencement, I think a lot of the students, it's crazy, it's their last final moments at Lewis, but becoming an alumni, I'm sure, is even just as special as being a student was, so I hope everyone soaks it all in.
Yeah, that's such a great point and great way to end. It is great to be an alum at Lewis, and it lasts a lifetime. And you're a Lasallian for a lifetime as well. Again, get your tickets, come early. Remember to watch it, the broadcast, if you cannot come. And this is our last show for the fall semester, another ending and another beginning. We will be off for the holiday break, and we'll see you in the new year. And I would like to wish you all a happy holidays and New Year, along with many blessings to you and your families.